Welcome guys, today we'll be learning about how to make a password generator using Python. In this project we are going to be using three modules: Numpy, Random and Sys. Numpy we'll be using to make our arrays. We're going to use Random to generate the password randomly as possible, and we're going to use this to make our password generator customizable. That is, we can pass arguments from the terminal so that we can specify the number of digits, the weight ratio of strings, letters, numbers and symbols. So as you can see, we have imported numpy as np, random as rm and sys. So these are the base words that we are going to be using. You can customize this any way you want. You can even separate the lowercase and uppercase. For this purpose I haven't done so. I have generated a number list of 1 to 9. Notice there is no zero character here. That means our password will not have a zero character, and I have used these symbols here. You can customize this code to this base number to any way. You can even use other scripts such as Chinese or Devanagari or any other script to generate a password in that format. Next we are going to do is set up some default parameters for our code. So these are going to be our default values, but we need to be able to customize these values and use them. So we'll write our code expecting the logic so that we need to change these values. Now the next block of code, what it does is it takes the ratio total, that is it adds up all the sum of the ratios, and if the sum is equal to the word count, that it just gives the weight value to it. That is, if let's say there are 100 digits in the password and 60 of them are strings, 25 of them are numbers and 15 of them are symbols, then there is no issue with generating 60 digits, 60 numbers, 60 strings, 25 numbers and 15 symbols. But suppose the user wants some kind of ratio, that is 80 is to 30 is to 50. Suppose he wants a 16 digit password in which there is a ratio of 16 is to 5 is to 1. So to support that logic, we have written this else command here. So what this else command does is it takes on that ratio total that we have done here, and it multiplies the weight string. So relative to the word count, it generates the required ratio for all of these digits. Now while using ratios, a problem may arise, that is sometimes one or two digits may be left unfulfilled. In that case, we randomly choose from either the word or number or symbol to fill in the gap ratio. So this code fills in the gap. Normally the gap is between 1 to 3 characters, so it is not much of an issue for larger passwords, and it even adds a new layer of security, as it is very difficult for the hackers to generate password in which the number of digits are semi-random. The next thing I have written is here is I created a raw password. A raw password is a numpy array of empty string. So what it does of empty list. So what it does, it for its size less than ratio of string, it adds a new value to the raw password from the word list. So this rm.choice chooses a random word from here. And similarly, this code in the next while statement, what it does is it subtracts the ratio of string, so that anything that is added there does not include in this logic, and it will do the while loop until the ratio of numbers is reached, and it will uh, choose a random number from number list. So in this way we generate a raw password of the word count that the user has specified. Generating just raw password is not enough, as only the strings will be printed first, and it is then later then numbers come second, and finally the symbols. This is not a very good practice in encryption. So what we can do is we can scramble the raw password to create uh, a generic password. Now the two new segments of code generate a generic password. So the dictionary one is to avoid repetition. That is, if L is used once in the raw password, we don't want the repetition of L. And secondly, if L is used 3 times, we want it to be used exactly 3 times. So this dictionary ensures that we can uh, count the number of the digits, the number of digits digits in the password, raw password. So the password is a numpy array of empty list. So what it does is it chooses from the raw password randomly, and this logic here does so that the exact digits are only appended as required. Now secondly, we need to make an a string that is printed as the password. Now this final code is converts the list into a string. Now let us run our code and see what happens. So as you can see, a new password is generated. Let us run it again and again. So a 16-digit letter password of the defined weight ratio is generated here. Now we need to create a customizable block for our password. So these are the default values, that is when the system arguments are only one, and by one I mean the system name. So we need to support for multiple number. So this is the code that is used to create a customizable block. Here, if the argument is one, that is if only the name is given and the python.name, then it will take these as default arguments. If there are two arguments, then the word count will be taken from the system arguments and these will be taken as default. If there are five, then everything will be taken from the terminal. Now let us try to run a password, our coding. So what we are going to run is generate a 100-digit password in which there are 50 exact strings, 30 numbers and 20 symbols. So let us run this and see what happens. So as you can see, these are 100-digit password with 50 exact strings, 30 numbers and 20 symbols. Now for example, I need a ratio. So if I need 50 is to 30 is to, let's say, 40. So as you can see, this sum does not exactly equal to 100. So what happens is the program takes it as a ratio and generates accordingly. So as you can see, there are 120 digits, but there are still 100-digit password generated with this ratio taken. So the first digit ensures there are only 100 digits are generated, and these three last digits represent the amount of ratio you want. Suppose you only want a 100-digit password of numbers. So as we know, the second number is for numbers. So we do this and it will generate 100-digit password of only numbers. Suppose you want only symbols, you can do this, and you can customize these three base digits form to generate any kind of password. You can even add another list. You just need to enter some extra variables for here and it will work fine. So this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video tutorial. If you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments below, and thank you for watching. You can find the entire code in my repository linked in the description.